And welcome everyone to our Workspaces 101. I'll be working through the Workspaces and showing you how we can manage our display in AutoCAD based on our tasks that may be at hand. So a workspace is a set of menus, ribbons, toolbars, palettes that are grouped into a task-oriented drawing environment. So for example, you may be using vehicle tracking, Autodesk vehicle tracking or something like that, and you find that you don't need some of the ribbons and things displayed, or you want your display to show a certain way. We can set that up using Workspaces. We can have multiple workspaces in our drawing or in our AutoCAD system. The workspaces are global, so every time that you open your AutoCAD, those workspaces will be available to you, and you'll be able to toggle between those quite easily. And I'll show you how to save a workspace and how to modify a workspace. Saving the workspace is probably the 101 part of things, and a little bit advanced, more advanced when we come into the CUI, which is a customise user interface tools, and we'll be looking at the menus and how we can manipulate those in our workspaces. So with our workspaces, we can control our palettes. The palettes are like the layer manager, the XREF manager. You know, do we want these palettes to be displayed? Do we want them to be shown expanded? Do we want them on a separate screen? Where do we want them to show up? We'll be looking at the ribbon tabs. We'll be looking at moving ribbon tabs around and placing them on our drawing editor in positions that we want. We may find that we use the layer tab of the ribbon fairly frequently, and we might want to have that displayed in the workspace that we'll be using. Menus are in some ways obsolete. Not a lot of people use menus these days. However, the menus can be brought through to your workspace, and you are able to display those if you desire. We can also modify the quick access toolbar, and we can add commands to that, and I'll show you how you can create your own quick access toolbar and bring that into your workspace. We'll also be looking at toolbars. Toolbars are sort of one of these old tools that have been around for years. Not a lot of people use them, but you might find that the O-Snaps toolbar is very handy. So you can just click on a O-Snap and that snap becomes active. So we're going to display probably a couple of toolbars during the session, and then we'll move on to saving and modifying our workspaces. Initially, we'll be having a look at workspaces and toggling between them and the basic commands available for workspaces. But the main thing is that we'll set up our drawing environment, and we'll save our workspace, we'll modify our workspace, and then we'll go into the CUI, the menus, and we'll look at how we modify those workspaces to do what we desire, if it's not possible just by saving the workspace. So
Selwyn,
yes, Jonathan.
I actually had just a quick poll. Do you mind? I don't even mind if you
No, go for it.
It was just a quick one, just for interest's sake, just to find out if people use menu bars or if they use toolbars, which kind of leaves ribbons. So I'm just going to quickly launch this. The question is, do you use menu bars? Yes or no? And the second question is, do you use toolbars? Yes or no? So be interesting to see if those particular tools are or part of the workspaces are still being used on a regular basis. So
yeah,
a lot of people, so at the moment we've got 80% of people still use menu bars, and of the responses we've had so far, all 100% say yes, we use toolbars.
Okay, so what percentage for menu bars, sorry?
About 85, nearly 85%.
Oh, okay.
So
that surprises me.
Well, although only 50% of the attendees have actually clicked on the answer, so now it's going up. Sometimes it takes a while for these responses to come back to us. So you might have clicked about 30 seconds ago, and the response is only now just coming in. So about 60% of you have voted. Yeah, nearly everyone, well, 100% of you use toolbars, of that 60%, and 80% of you are using the menu bars. So anyway, I just thought that was quite a useful poll to quickly run. Thanks, folks. I'll just close that down. Thanks, Selwyn.
Thank you. We will be looking at the menu bar and we'll also be looking at toolbars. So for those that haven't ventured into the menu bar or the toolbars, you may actually find that we have some toolbars in here that will be of interest to you. So I'm just going to get straight into this. I have a standard AutoCAD 2021 set up here. To manage our workspaces, we usually have an icon down here along the bottom. If you don't find an icon with a cog down here, we'll just go to the hamburger over here, the 3 horizontal bars. Click on there, and it should display. And you'll see in this list, we have the list of tools that are available to show on the command line along here. What we need to do is click on Workspace Switching. And when we do that, we see this cog icon appear here. It also has a drop-down with different options. So that's one place that we can access the workspace. And also up here on the quick access toolbar, we can also click on the down arrow here and we can click on Workspace here. So you'll see here, I have a list of workspaces. I have 3 workspaces in here, drafting and annotation, 3D basics, and 3D modeling. These are the standard ones that come with AutoCAD. If you're using Civil 3D or BricsCAD, you'll possibly have different workspaces available to you. However, the concepts will work very similar, or they're pretty much identical in Civil 3D. With BricsCAD, it's slightly different, although BricsCAD does have workspaces. A little bit harder to manipulate and handle. However, those tools are available in there for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to probably ignore this one up on the quick start bar, and we'll concentrate on this one down here. They're both identical. However, down here, I'm just going to click on here, and you'll see that my current workspace has a check mark placed next to it. If I change to 3D basics, my ribbon will change and my interface will change. So I'll just click on basics here and you'll see that now we have a different ribbon here. If we go and choose the next one down, 3D modeling, you'll see that the tool space changes once more. However, we'll just return to to drafting and annotation because that's probably the common one that most people use. You'll also see in here that I have vehicle tracking installed and I've got raster tools installed. So our normal menus are these, or our normal ribbon bar are these entries through here. So we'll come back down here and we'll have a look at the entries that are available here. We've had a look at the different workspaces that are here. We have an option that is save current as. So we're in the drafting and annotation workspace at the moment. We can do a save current as, and it will create a copy of the current workspace. So if I was to click on that, save current as, and I'll call this Workspaces 101. I'll save that. And now you'll see up the top here, it says Workspaces 101. That's my current workspace. And down here, I'll have a check mark next to Workspaces 101. Workspaces 101 is an identical copy of drafting and annotation. Workspaces 101 is the one that we're working on today, and we'll be modifying this to our requirements. We also have down here Workspace settings. I'll just click on that and we'll just go through the settings here. My workspace usually is set to drafting and annotation. However, I'll set it to Workspaces 101, which will become the default workspace. I now have listed in here the different workspaces that I have in my drawing. Now that I've copied annotation and drafting, maybe I don't want that entry to show in my listing. So if I uncheck that, that will no longer be available for selection in the Workspaces command. I'll leave that on just so it stays in there for the time being. We can also come down and we can add separators between our workspaces if you want. So you might have a category of maybe a specific client, and you could place the client workspaces underneath, and group them all together here. We move down here to when switching workspaces. You'll probably, if you've used Workspaces before, you might find that when you have modified your current workspace and you change to another and then revert to your original workspace, it reverts to what it was before you made any changes. The reason for that being is that you have do not save changes to workspace checked. If you want the workspace to change every time, to be saved whenever you make any changes to the workspace environment, you would click on this button here and it would save when you make any changes to your workspace. I generally work with do not save changes to workspace because when you start moving things around, you've got things set up as you want for your workspace, and when you go back to your workspace, you probably want it to be the same. The option, if I want to save my workspace, if I have this here like this, I'll just click on OK. So it's not going to save my workspace. I'll display a palette. Sorry, I just clicked on the wrong, went a little bit high there. I meant to go into View. And if I display the Properties panel, we're in Workspaces 101. If I change my workspace to drafting and annotation, that panel will disappear. If I change back to Workspaces 101, that panel is still missing. So what I would do in this situation is I'd display my properties, I'd get it where I want, say I want it over here, and then I would come down here to the Workspace button again, and I'd choose Save Current As. When we click on Save Current As, we have a list of the current workspaces in our drawing. We can create a new one if we want and click on Save, or we can come down and we can click on the workspace that we wish to update. So I'm going to click on Workspaces 101, click on Save. It warns me that it already exists, and do I want to replace it? And yes, I do, so I'll replace that. And now when I change workspaces, once I can get the mouse working satisfactorily here, I'll change workspaces again. I'll go back to drafting and annotation, and you'll see that that panel has disappeared. If I go back to Workspaces 101, that properties panel will appear where it was saved when I clicked on this Save Current As. Do we have any questions, Jonathan?
Furiously trying to find the unmute button. Yeah, so I guess they're sort of probably related more towards what we're going to talk about again. One is about how do I basically share the workspace every time I upgrade? How do I, not have to recreate the workspace? Which I thought was an interesting one. And there was another comment that's come in about if users can save a workspace when they're working on an enterprise customization file.
Okay.
Which again is another.
We can tackle those ones towards the end.
Great stuff. Okay, that was it at the moment.
Okay, just remind me towards the end, and I'll tackle those questions for you.
No problem. Thanks, Elwyn.
Okay, so we can have the sheet set manager displayed. We can change any of the settings that we want on these. We might find, I'm just going to continue through with this workspace here. I'm going to go to the Home tab, and I find that I use the Layers panel a lot. I can drag that out of my ribbon and place it somewhere. I could place it on another screen. However, I'll just leave it on this screen for the time being. And you'll see that the ribbon panel has gone from here. We may also use the properties tools a lot that are in the panel here. And we're just going to place them here. I would place them on another screen just to get them off the drawing area. But for this example here, we're just going to place them where they are on screen here. So now I've made some changes. I'll go Save Current As, click on Workspaces once more, Save, Overwrite. And now when I change my workspace once more, I'll just go back to Annotation and Drafting, which this one was a copy of. And now when I toggle back to Workspaces 101, I have those panels where I left them. So it's handy to be able to get some tools that you use all the time to be available on screen. I don't know how many times I've gone, you're over on a panel here and you really have to go to the Home tab and then locate the options there, whereas you can have them on screen available to you all the time. You can do that with all the ribbons if you want. If you've placed a ribbon in your drawing and you don't want to display again, there's a little button here that says Return Panels to Ribbon. And when you click on that, it will return to the original position on the ribbon. Unfortunately, we can't copy one tab to another ribbon panel in the ribbon. So that's an unfortunate thing, that we can't actually build up a ribbon that has everything that we want to display. So I've got vehicle tracking and raster tools. I don't want them showing up in this workspace. I could come in here and I can right click and I can choose show tabs and turn off vehicle tracking. Do the same, show tabs, turn off raster tools, come back down, save current as, and choose my workspace once again, and it will update. So we'll just toggle once more. We'll go back to drafting and annotation, and we'll see that vehicle tracking and raster tools is available on that workspace. And when we go back to Workspaces 101, we'll find that those entries are missing, or they've been removed, which is what we did when we did the show tabs, vehicle tracking and raster tools, and uncheck those. You can uncheck any of the others that you don't use. You may not use collaborate. You can make that disappear. We'll also have a look at the user interface shortly with Workspaces, and I'll show you how to create or how to remove those from a workspace completely. So we've got this, and we've got our ribbons how we want them. We've got our panels as we want them to display. We can set them to minimize if we want. And when we click on the Save As, those settings will be saved. So you'll notice that I go and I do a Save As quite often. If I was setting up my environment initially, I would probably change the settings here to automatically save workspace changes, and that would negate me having to go to Save As all the time. So once I get my workspace set up, I would switch it back to Do Not Save Changes to Workspace. And then when you toggle back to your workspace, it will be as you were expecting. Although if you find that you're working on when you're working, you move panels around and you like to come back in and have those panels in the same position as when you last activated, last using AutoCAD, you could leave automatically save workspace changes. So it's entirely up to you. If you do manipulate your drawing environment a lot, leave that one on. If you want it set and save it as it was, leave it as Do Not Save Changes to Workspace. We can also show the menu bar, which I'll just display up the top. Menu bar, enter 1, and the menu bar will appear along here. So we can't do anything about the menu bar with Workspaces down here. If we save the workspace, the menu bar will continue to display when I change workspaces. And to manipulate this one here or to remove entries, we need to go into the CUI editor. To do so, we come down here to Workspace again, and we'll click on Customise. Actually, before we do that, this button here, you'll see it's just got a cog. If we click on Display Workspace Label, it will show the workspace here. So it displays similar to what's up the top here on the Quick Access Toolbar. So what we're going to do now is we're going to Customise. Clicking on Customise is the same as typing CUI at the command line. It brings up the CUI editor. So I'll just Same thing, customise. And you can also type customise at the command line to manipulate, customise to bring up the menu editor. You'll see in here on the left-hand side, we have our main menu. If you're using Civil 3D, it probably says Civil C3D. If you're using BricsCAD, it'll say default.cui, and with AutoCAD, the default one is ACAD. ACAD is our main menu that is loaded in our settings, and therefore this is where it's going to get the workspaces from. If you're using an enterprise menu, the workspaces will come from the enterprise menu, and you will not be able to modify those workspaces unless you copy them into your current menu file or into one of the partial customization files that are loaded. So if you've got an enterprise menu, I'd suggest importing them into the custom partial customization file. This file here has been set up specifically for users to be able to add their own tools to the menu. If you modify the ACAD menu, when you update your AutoCAD to the next version, you'll find that the menus will be overwritten or the tools will not come through. If you need to transfer workspaces between files, you'll use the transfer button, and you would load the enterprise CUI on the left-hand side and your custom menu on the right-hand side, and then you would drag the workspaces across over to the other CUI. Okay, so we'll go back up to the top of the list. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. So we're in the ACAD menu. We've got a category here called Workspaces. You've got quick access toolbars, ribbons, toolbars, menus, and all the other display options and things that you can have in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Workspaces 101 Current. When we click on that, we see on the right-hand side, it shows us what is available in that workspace or what is set up in that workspace. So you'll see here, if I expand a little bit out that way, we've got a quick access toolbar. That quick access toolbar is coming from the ACAD menu. If you're modifying the quick access toolbar, I'd probably copy it down into the custom menu, and then when you update your AutoCAD, you would copy your custom menu across and use that in your next version of AutoCAD. So we've got here, back over here, we've got our workspace. It contains menus, it contains palettes, and it contains ribbon tabs. So what we're going to do here, we want to get a toolbar coming across from our AutoCAD menu. So I expand toolbars, and the one I want to bring across is the Objects Snap toolbar, which is this one here. So what I'm going to do, I'll go back up to Workspaces. I'm going to click on Customize Workspace. And you'll see now that everything turns blue over this side. And if we scroll through on the left-hand side and I expand menus on the left-hand side and expand menus here, you'll find that there's a check mark next to each of the entries that have been copied across into our workspace. If we don't want the help menu to display, which is this one here, we can uncheck help here, and that will disappear from our menu bar. You might find vehicle tracking group, I don't want that to appear, so I would come down to the partial customization files. It tells me here the group is vehicle tracking, so there's going to be an entry under partial customizations called vehicle tracking, and there'll also be one called AutoCAD raster design. So with vehicle tracking, I can come back over to this side, expand vehicle tracking, look at menus, and if I uncheck vehicle tracking, that menu will disappear from the tool, from the workspace. I could do the same with raster design, expand, uncheck, and raster design will be gone. I may not use parametric while I'm drafting. So, over in the menus area, I can uncheck parametric and parametric will disappear. Okay. So you can display whichever menus. You can bring menus through from other you can bring the menus through from other CUI files. If we expand Express, App Manager, there's nothing in here. But if we look at these other entries, we've got different toolbars are available. You're able to bring any toolbars across into your toolbars over here. You may find that you want to have, we'll just find, where are we? Ribbon tabs, ribbon. I was in the wrong area, that's why I couldn't see. We might find that we want to have one of these other ones displayed on our ribbon. I'll just click on View 3D and that will be added to our list. We can drag these items around and we can place them in the sequence that we want. And we'll also now have a look at palettes. The palettes, as mentioned before, are the different palettes in AutoCAD, like your sheet set manager, your external references, these sort of items. If we have a look at the ribbon, click on ribbon, we have options here for appearance. You'll find that in most of these, we'll have similar entries. If we have a look at command line, the command line is this, line here. You'll see that it's got showing, it's actually showing, so that's a yes. It says floating. I can change that to be docked to the bottom, so it will attach to the bottom of my screen. Auto hide, you can get it to hide when you move away from it if it's floating, and allow docking. When it says do not change, this signifies that when you toggle from one workspace to another, the docking setting here will not change how it is set in the workspace. So if this was set to do not change, do not change, do not change. When you toggle workspaces into this one, the Workspaces 101, you'll find that the command line will not change and will stay as it is in the previous active workspace. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have show it, yes. I'm going to dock it to the bottom, allow docking, yes. Auto hide, I'll turn that off. And I'm going to make it full transparency, and I won't worry about size or width. So when I come out of here, my tool palette, my workspace will have the command line running all the way along the bottom to the right-hand side. We might have a look at the external references. It's set to no, so we can change it to yes. So when I change to this workspace, the external references panel will display. I may want it docked, so I'm just going to dock it over to the left-hand side along with the other ones here. We'll change it to allow docking. And we'll set it to auto hide, similar to what we have with these ones here. So I'll just click on yes for that, or on. So when I toggle into this workspace now, my external references manager will display on the left-hand side and be docked to the left-hand side. My command line will be attached to the bottom of my screen and run from the left to right. So if I click on done up here and click on OK, okay, I'll toggle from that workspace to another. and then back to that workspace, just to refresh my screen and refresh my workspace. And now you can see that external references is now included in the panels that are available. When I change to the previous drafting and annotation, you'll see that my command line changes back to where it was and those panels do not appear. I still have vehicle tracking raster tools displaying in here. And when I toggle back once more to Workspaces 101, I'll have these panels available, which I've specified, and I don't have the raster controls that I had before. So they're set not to display. I can get those back by right-clicking and click on Show on Tabs and Vehicle Tracking, and that will reappear in here. You are able to move items around. So parametric, I might want it up near the end because it's something that I don't use very often. Featured apps, I may not use. You can get rid of it by hiding the tab, or you can come in and you may find that in the parametric, probably not a good idea. In output, you may not use certain tabs. And if you click on Show Tabs here, Show Panels, it shows you the panels that are applicable to the current tab in your ribbon. So I'll find one, I'll right-click, say I don't use markup, I can click on Show Panels and I can turn off markup. And that will make my ribbon just that little bit shorter. You might find that, things expand over to the right-hand side too far, and you can get away with getting rid of some of the panels in here. When you save your workspace, that setup will be saved as well. You'll also notice that the menu, when we had a look at the menu bar entries before, we removed raster design and we removed vehicle tracking, and they won't show up in our menu bar. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to load a toolbar. Sorry, I'll just type customise. Same as entering CUI, or sorry, wrong button. Sorry, hold on, not customise. CUI, sorry. I'm just going to go back into my workspaces, customise workspace. I'm going to go to the toolbars and I'm going to locate object snap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a single toolbar showing on screen. I don't want it to float. I want it to be on the right-hand side. And so that, when it appears, will be attached to the right-hand side of my drawing window. So my O-snaps will be available to me all the time when I'm in this workspace. When I toggle workspaces, that item will disappear. Another one that's in here is the Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar is based on this entry here. What I would suggest is removing that entry and using this entry down here, partial customization files, custom, quick access toolbars, and enter that one for the quick access toolbar. So when you modify or when you update your AutoCAD, if it's saved in the custom menu, if you're not sure where the custom menu is kept, I'll show you in just a moment. So now we have a quick access toolbar from my custom menu appearing in my workspace. If I click on Done, that will now display when I exit out of the CUI. If I come back down to the custom toolbar, if I click on Custom, it will show me the location of the custom menu. When you load a new version of AutoCAD, you would go to that folder and you would load a partial customization file, which you can do from here by right-clicking on partial customization files, load partial customization file, and you'll be able to load additional menus in that way. And the workspaces that are listed in here, you'll be able to transfer across using the transfer button if you've saved them in there. So what I'm going to do, just click on OK, and I'll now find that I have my palettes on the left-hand side and I have my O-snaps on the right-hand side. So that makes it a little bit easier to access them, you know, rather than coming down here all the time. Sorry, wrong button there. And selecting the ones that you want. These ones are turned on by default. So when I use my O-snaps, it's going to click to endpoint, center, intersection, and extension. If I want to override an O-snap, I can just click on one of these and it will use that O-snap, and it's readily available there. Rather than typing, you know, for an O-snap of CEN or END or any of those sort of things, you can click them off screen. Okay, so that's basic, or really that's it with Workspaces. So just remember, when you're working on your Workspaces, when you're setting it up, it's probably best to have automatically save Workspaces set until you have it set up. And then once you have it finalized, click on Do Not Save Workspace, and it will retain those settings for you when you open new drawings. So if I toggle back now to my original one, this is my default layout that we had when we first came into AutoCAD. And now if I have a look at my Workspace 101, it will alter to the display that I've requested and with the tools available that I use mostly in my drafting for this project or for a certain client or whatever it may be. Okay. Any additional questions than before, Jonathan? I think that pretty much covers
yeah, no,
how to work a workspace.
Yeah, so I guess really you covered there about how can I move a custom workspace from one version, as it were, of AutoCAD Civil 3D in this case to another. Yep. There is a migration. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'll just run through that one quickly, Jonathan.
No problem.
That's in transfer, and you would open a file on the right-hand side. Maybe we would create a new file. I'll just place it in my documents, and I'll just call it Workspaces, just to keep it consistent with the session. So on the right-hand side, I have my my new file, and over on the left-hand side, I have my tools that I want to bring into this other CUI file. So all I'm doing is just clicking, drag to the right, and these workspaces will be available in that CUI file. So I can I'll drag a few things across. I'm just dragging anything at the moment. So, you know, it's nothing, I'm not going for specific files or anything. So when I click OK here, it will save that CUI file. If I come back in here and I go to partial CUI files, right click, load partial, go back to my documents folder, I should find I have a Workspaces 101 CUI in here. And we'll now find that if I go back to main, I've got a Workspaces 101 entry here. I can come back up here to Workspaces 101, customize, come back down to Workspaces. Sorry, I failed to save it. Apologies for that one. You should be able to drag the entries that are in here across. So, hold on, I'll just go back into that one. Apologies for this.
That's okay.
I'll drag those workspaces across. I'll grab some toolbars.
Lots of toolbars. That's great.
I failed to click on the save button over here before. That's all I failed to do just before. So I'll click on that, save.
It's a good process to really reaffirm how this works, because obviously, just while you're doing that, so when there is a migration tool that I don't know if it's included with Civil 3D, but it's included with AutoCAD, specifically just AutoCAD. When you go to the programs, start programs and see AutoCAD, there's a migrate from previous release. which will
Yes.
allow you to bring stuff across. But I don't think that's included when you install a pure Civil 3D installation. I think it's just on an AutoCAD install.
Hold on, I'll just check for you. I've got a feeling you're correct there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's only on the
there's no
AutoCAD
Civil
releases.
3D migrate option.
No. So Chris, if you ask that question, you're running Civil 3D. So the process that Selwyn's showing you here is the process to operate with.
Yeah, AutoCAD has a migrate from previous release, but Civil 3D doesn't. If I'm not sure. Hold on, sorry, I'm just looking at. Yeah, there's nothing for Civil 3D.
No.
So yeah, transfer is the way you would go in that situation. You would also have to do the same thing if you were using an enterprise menu to be able to modify any of the workspaces that are in there. You would open up your main customization file, which would be the enterprise CUI, and you would copy the workspaces across into a custom menu or into a menu that is able to be modified, and then you'll be able to set those workspaces current, and you'll be able to modify those workspaces. Workspaces in an enterprise menu are static and are unable to be modified.
Yeah, I think that was really the crux of the other Chris's question was, if a user's working with an enterprise customization file, are they going to be able to go ahead and start to customize their workspace? And I guess the real question is, well, not really. I think that's probably what the main answer is.
It's not really. It's yes. You can't modify the enterprise menu because whoever your CAD manager or whoever set up your environment has set it up with those specific workspaces. Usually when the CAD manager has set up workspaces for you, it's usually just a starting point for you. When I've set them up previously, I've set up basic workspaces in the enterprise menu, and I've given instructions to the users on how to copy those into their local menu and how to activate those.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So yeah, once they're not in the once they're copied from the enterprise menu, they remain in the enterprise menu. But once they're in your own menu that is able to be edited, you'll be able to do whatever you want with those workspaces. Be that adding toolbars, adding the panels where you want them to display, the ribbon panels or tabs where you want them to display, any of that sort of stuff will be able to be modified in a CUI file that is able to be modified.
Great. Yeah.
AutoCAD class considers the enterprise menu as read-only, and there's a lot of work to try and change how that works. There's processes to do it, but your CAD manager is the one that would be doing those sort of things for you. So just remember, if you can't modify something that's in an enterprise menu, copy it into your custom menu, and then you'll be able to modify it in here, no matter what you wish to be. So we'll click OK here. And if you recall, there's the quick access toolbar up here. I used the one in my custom menu, so I can come up here and I can add the tools that I want. And I can actually go in here and say I use, I don't know, one of these tools. So some of the tools on your ribbon, you can click on Add Quick Access Toolbar, and it will put it up on the toolbar for you. When you save your workspace, save current as, I'll go back to the same old name, save, replace, change workspaces again, go back to the default. It's defaulted to the quick access toolbar that's in the AutoCAD menu. When I come back to Workspaces 101, I should have additional tools up here available. Those tools could be specific to your task at hand. So you can see here that I've got the multi-leader tool up here, and it's been saved in my workspace.
For those of you that do use Civil 3D, that quick access toolbar can actually be a really convenient way of accessing certain tools that you maybe have to go through either a toolbar, a menu pull down, or even on the ribbon. Maybe you've got to flick across a couple of tabs. You've then got to click on a panel, click on a pull down. So there could be 3 or 4 clicks to get to it. A popular one to put up there from my perspective is creating an alignment from a polyline, just to have that one up the top there, because it takes a few pull downs to get to, but having that just as a quick access, if you're creating alignments from polylines quite a lot, it can be a really useful one to have at the top.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to get it up there. If it doesn't show up in the list here, you do have, there's a list of default ones here that are available. If it doesn't show in here, we can come in and we can click on more commands, and that will bring up the CUI editor again, or part of the CUI editor. It looks slightly different, but it's still the same thing. It just doesn't have the panel on the right-hand side showing, and you'll be able to drag. Oh, hold on, if we come down to partial, custom, quick access, we should be able to drag these up and drop whatever tool that you want. I'm just grabbing different things. So, as Jonathan was saying, you've got your tools that you use regularly, just drag them up and drop them into your quick access toolbar, click OK, and those entries should appear up here. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good way of getting to those convenient, particularly the ones that take a few clicks to get to. You know where they are every time, but it's just a bit like what Selma was saying with object snaps or something. You always find yourself taking a few clicks to get to it, and you use it regularly. Pop it up on quick access like that. It's a neat way of getting to it.
Yeah, and I think the layer one is really good to have up here.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So you can set your layer current. I don't have anything in this drawing. It's just a blank drawing because we're just looking at workspaces. But, you can set your layer current. You can freeze, thaw, whatever it may be. That's, a great thing. Workspace is probably not so great up there, because you can access it down the bottom here. But, yeah, whatever you can get on screen, that's why I chose external references. Most civil drawings, or most drawings these days, utilize X references, and it's always handy to have. Sheet Set Manager is one of those things that get used a lot, so that's why I've brought that one through. And properties I've also brought through. I've also set properties to minimize, because when you're running AutoCAD and the properties window is displayed, it can slow down your AutoCAD. I usually work with properties turned off, but a little bit faster for it to run with it minimized all the time. Just a little hint. When you select things, properties updates, there's a slight delay. You may not notice it, but if it's off screen, it'll update when you expand that screen. Okay, so I think that's about 101 for Workspaces. Jonathan, unless there's some other questions?
Right. Thanks to Chris and Chris for your questions. We will close the session there. But thanks very much for your contributions, and obviously it was interesting to get some feedback at the start. Certainly I started using this by having to type everything in release 12, so I didn't even have, I think there was menu bars, but there certainly wasn't toolbars or anything. So I appreciate that some people are used to using the interface in a certain way, your workspace in a certain way, and if there is toolbars, there is nothing wrong with that. And if there's menu bars, again, there's no correct way to have to operate with the software. And I guess what this has done is to really just show you how the multiple ways can be set up to your own, your own personal liking.
Yes.
Now, Selwyn, I'll just very quickly share my screen.
And you were talking about menus. I used to use the screen menu that was down the right-hand side.
Oh, that old, yeah.
So
well,
that's how long I've been around.
Yes. Yeah. DOS. Some of you are going, what's DOS?
Yes, I used to work in DOS, and yeah.
Excellent. If you want to register for the webcasts or just get the mailing list, which asks you to register the day before, you can do that via this link. And if you want to get hold of the recording of this particular webcast, we've now got an AutoCAD playlist, which covers all things from fields to blocks to XREFs. annotative content, parametrics, tons of stuff that Selwyn's done over the past 12 months. Feel free to go and have a look. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at the next webcast next week, and we hope you all have a good week. Thanks ever so much, Selwyn.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and everyone for attending. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.